Good afternoon, it is Wednesday the 22nd of April at 2:52 p.m. and the allotment's looking grand, and I just got a new something which is well overdue. I'll show you it in a bit. Let's have a look at the plot. Ah, wouldn't you know it, there you go, there you go, yeah, started mowing. Never mind, let's do what we can. Right, first things first, whilst my plum tree, there you go, switch it off, lovely, right, whilst my plum tree is growing beautifully, doing absolutely brilliantly, there's a distinct lack of blossom going on. It's not fruited yet. It's been in there a few years now. It's not fruited yet. I really did think that this year was going to be the year that it does a bit, but it's not. If we look up close, there have been one or two. I hope you can hear me over that mower. Sorry about that. He's ragging it, isn't he? Oh, it's that copper. Can't actually see them at the moment. If they're even, no, I don't think they're even still there. There were one or two tiny little blossoms. Which have either been fertilised and dropped their petals, or they've just gone. I think they've just gone. Okay, so yeah, no plums this year, but it's not the end of the world, because the way that tree is clearly getting its roots in, it is one healthy, vigorous plum tree. When that fruits, it's going to fruit. I'm looking forward to that. Pear tree, plenty of blossom, lovely. And also its little buddy over here, which is much younger, still coming along, got some blossom on there. And I'm so pleased to see that they're both blossoming at the same time. That's going to give me all the more fruit. That's great. Right, I've got my spuds nearly completely in. These are all waiting to be sown with parsnips and carrots. I've got my spuds very nearly done. Look at that. I've got one more row to do. Just one more row here to the right of the plank that I'm walking on. And I'm very pleased to say that the soil is now eventually in good enough condition that I don't have to plant my potatoes with a pickaxe. I was getting a bit fed up of that, planting my potatoes with a pickaxe. All I've had to use this time, which is as it should be, absolutely lovely. I've got my tiller there, which is really designed for breaking up the soil. You use it a bit like a hoe. You know, after you've dug something over, as an intermediary tool, you'd then use that to break it all up and level it off a bit before you put the hoe on to get your fine tilth. And then for digging me trenches, sorry, shadow, digging me trenches, my mum got me that for my birthday last year. I know it as a Jamaican hoe. Met a few of them. I know it as a Jamaican hoe, but I've heard it referred to as all sorts of things. So you know, I think it's probably quite a primitive tool that's appeared all over the world. You know, and it's got various different guises and various different names. It's extremely useful, and the fact that I can now use that. Previous years I couldn't have used that because we were dealing with rock solid heavy clay. Now, 3 years after improving the soil and filling it up with compost and manure and rotted material and just putting whatever I can into it and digging it over, it's now at a stage where I can use that to just scrape out nice easy trenches for my potatoes. Now I kind of like no dig. Full on no dig is expensive unless you've got a farm. But I do like the concept of no dig. So obviously this is quite an invasive tool. So I do only use it for the potatoes. I follow a rough rotation. I don't follow a particularly strict one, but I do follow a rough rotation. So with that in mind, the soil only gets deeply trenched for potatoes once every 4 years. And I don't do the whole lot. I don't do the whole bed. I just literally do where the potatoes are being planted. So that's all very good news. That bed's looking good, and that was the last bed that needed serious attention. It's looking pleasing now. I'm happy with that. Garlic are doing nicely. They've shot up in the last week or two, and the broad beans that survived the winter, they've been in there since last autumn. The broad beans that survived the winter are coming on nicely. Don't know if you can see the flowers. Let's pop over to that one there. See if you can see the blossom on it. There you go. Only about half of what I put in last autumn have actually made it through the winter, but it doesn't particularly matter because I've got more sown in the greenhouse on the go. So these will be my early crop. I've got some more on the go in seed trays, which will be my slightly later crop. You can see that I've used the straw everywhere. It's not just straw. Underneath that there's a layer of newspaper, and underneath that is a layer of my homemade compost. The sun and the wind here dries everything out horribly. Let me just show you a little bit of exposed soil so you can see what goes on. Oh God, here we go. Jesus, look at that. It's horrible. Oh. Pleased to see a ladybird though. There you go. Nice little ladybird, but horrible great cracks. They're everywhere. Horrible great big cracks in the soil. So I've done this every winter. It's proved very effective. So I have now, this has been here since last autumn. That's really nicely covered. It's lovely and moist and dark under there. It's really good. I've decided to extend that to the summer. So brassicas aside, I don't want to be piling up straw around my brassicas because it does attract slugs. I won't be putting any straw on that bed. But these other beds, which are going to have things like sweet corn, squashes, beans, peas, they're not particularly sluggy plants, you know, so I can get away with putting a bit of straw down and they should be okay. It'll make a big difference to conserving the water and just allowing the soil to be soil rather than dust at the end of the day, you know. Right. All the wildflowers are coming through nicely. Lots of blossom on the Brayburn. Lots of blossom on the mystery one on the right here. That other graft on the left, that's a Cox's Orange Pippin, which is what I bought this tree as. I bought it as a Cox's Orange Pippin, and the reason I picked this particular specimen up in the shop was that it does have 2 grafts, and we're not looking at a graft and a bit of the rootstock. They are very clearly both grafts. Neither one of those shoots has grown directly from the rootstock. So we are looking at 2 different species of apple on that. The one on the left is definitely a Cox's Orange Pippin. That's what I bought it as, and that's what it produced last year. It was definitely a Cox's Orange Pippin. No mistake in it. Now that's not coming to blossom yet. This other graft didn't flower last year. It didn't blossom, it didn't produce any fruit. This year it has, and it's blossomed much earlier than the Cox's Orange Pippin. It's not the same species. This one is something else, and I don't know what. I'm really looking forward to finding out. I can't wait. Now, if you look at the leaves as well, I don't know how well this is going to go. Not particularly, sorry. The teeth on that leaf are quite rounded. They're not particularly sharp looking teeth. There's another one. Little rounded teeth. On this side, which is the one that's already blossoming, too bad. There you go, you've got these sharp little serrated, yeah, that's nice and clear. Nice little sharp serrated teeth. So the leaves are different on both sides, and this side is blossoming earlier. This, I would say, sir, is not a Cox's orange pippin. When I compare it to the Braeburn there, actually the blossom and the leaves are pretty much identical. So it could be that that's a Braeburn. I hope it's not, because I've already got a Braeburn, but you know, there you go. So yeah, I bought it out of interest because it was 2 grafts, but it's not 2 Cox's orange pippins. It's a Cox's orange pippin and possibly a Braeburn, but could be literally anything at this stage. Right, what did I get today? New mower. There's my old mower. It's falling apart. The old rubbishy steel body's just rotting away. It's falling to pieces. Luckily, the bloke on the next plot is a retired pub landlord. He's got a sideline in repairing lawnmowers and similar equipment. So I said to him, have you got an old second-hand one going? He said, yeah, I have. And I've got this. It's absolutely lovely. It's one of the self-propelling ones, so no pushing. It's old, but he said that he's maintained it. He's serviced it every year since it was brand new. So we've got a full service history of it. It's been immaculately looked after. It came off some rich bloke up the road. But best of all, look at the badge on the engine. Briggs & Stratton. I've got a Briggs & Stratton engine in my mower. Very happy indeed. I'm so pleased with that mower. Although it's very wide, it doesn't look that wide in the camp. Yeah, there you go. It's 18 inches, I think. Yeah, it's 18 inches wide. A couple of these pathways aren't 18 inches wide. So what I'm going to do is just reduce my bed by 1 inch or 2. Definitely on that one. Possibly along the back there as well. Just reduce the bed by a couple of inches so that I can just whiz the mower down. It'll make life so much easier. Peas ready to go out, looking good. Now the old mower, although it's held together with string and wood and epoxy resin and all sorts of other things that shouldn't be holding a mower together, the engine's actually not a bad engine. It's a Honda copy, basically. It's a Honda clone. It's a cheap knockoff of a really popular engine. But the engine's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So I called my nephew a little while ago and I said, I've got a spare engine. I was wondering if you've got a spare scooter. He said, yeah, I have. He's got a spare scooter. So once this coronavirus business has eased off a bit and I can see my nephews and nieces again, that engine... Sorry, there's somebody outside. That engine is going on a scooter, and that'll be a lot of fun. Right, somebody coming is bound to say hello. Hello, you alright? Hang on just a sec.